Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today, we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams offseason so far. As today, we got the New York Rangers, a team that gets haunted by Tom Wilson every single night in their dreams, as they fired their head coach because they, went and attacked the NHL, and then they hired Chris Drury as their new GM and kicked Jeff Gorton out the door. Drury's first, job as a GM, his first, few months in office, I really wasn't a big fan of this Rangers offseason, to say the least. Compared to what, the Islanders did. The Islanders did a lot better stuff than what, Jiri did here for the Rangers. But before we get into that, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to slap that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. That'll be very much appreciated, boys. Let's get into this offseason here, as Chris Jiri did a pretty good amount, and the one thing he did do was add a lot of size. He brought in Barclay Goodrow, Samuel Blais, Ryan Reaves, brought in a lot of big heavy hitters here for the New York Rangers, but you'd be probably saying, oh, this is not bad. He's adding a lot of heavyweights to the team, giving it a little bit of physical size. They already have Lafreniere, and they already got Capo Caco, plus they got Kravatsov. They look pretty good. But the way that they picked up a lot of these, big guys, and especially signing Barclay Goodrow to the contract that they signed him to, is just not smart. So, let's get into dissecting this offseason. Let's get into the trades. First of all, of course, they picked up Goodrow for a 7th round pick from the Tampa Bay Lightning even before free agency happened. And then they also dumped off Brett Hallen to the Vegas Golden Knights for a 4th round pick. And Nick DeSimone, not a bad deal. Brett Hallen wasn't really turning out to be anything. Getting a pick back's not a bad idea. But this was the other move that I thought was a dumb, mind-boggling move for the New York Rangers. A guy who, in Pavel Buchnevich, was a very good goal scorer, was going to cost, $5.8 million, maybe even a little bit more than that. Pavel Buchnevich was a really good goal scorer. This was a guy that almost put up a point per game this past season at 20 goals. And, I mean, this guy is a guy who could probably score upwards of 20 to 30 goals a season, and they dumped him off for a guy in Samuel Blais and a 2022 second round pick. And, Blais is not a bad player, but he's, a chippy third, fourth line player, while Buchnevich is a second line guy who's going to score you 20 to 30 goals a season, and you dump him off for that? Chris Jiri, that's a no-no, man. I don't like this move. I really am not a big fan of it. I thought they lost tremendous amount of value in this deal, especially with how good Buchnevich played in just the last offseason. Maybe they thought he was too weak or something in that. But when you have a guy that can score goals like that, you got to keep somebody like that. I know you got some, upcoming guys in the lineup, but replacing them with Blais is just not a good deal. It's not worth the value. And then moving up, they also picked up Ryan Reaves as well for a 3rd round pick. So you're seeing a trend. Every one of these deals that they did so far was adding size, adding grit, so they could practically battle back against Tom Wilson or just become a more physical team, because, that's the way that you make a Stanley Cup winning team, right? Otherwise, their draft day, they got Brennan Hoffman, which I really like that, and also Ryan Korzak. I actually quite like what they did in the draft. I actually didn't think it was that bad. And then Jaden Grube, centerman from Calgary. Okay. And he actually didn't have too terrible of a year the year before with the Red Deer Rebels. Almost was a point per game in the only 5 games that he played with the Red Deer Rebels this year. So, of course, not a lot of information on him. But Ryder Korzak I really liked when he was playing with the World Junior team. And Hoffman also looks like a really good player as well. But moving on to the signings, which Chris Jiri was pretty busy. He got hired and was already at work 5 days in and signed Ryan Lindgren to a 3-year, $3 million deal, which I really thought was worth it. He's a great defensive defenseman. Was a real smart move getting him to a nice 3-year deal there by Chris Jiri. And then moving on, they also signed Brett Hallen, which then they eventually just traded him away. Barclay Goodrow, which I thought this deal was dumb. 6 years at $3.6 million for Barclay Goodrow. Now, I'll list the reason why this is dumb. First of all, you have him stuck on a no-trade clause, which is just not smart at all. But second of all, Goodrow, he's a good depth third, fourth liner. He's a good depth player. He brings some physicality, plays really well defensively. But I don't know if he's going to be able to stay at this type of game. He just is going to be coming out of his prime here in the next 2 years. And we've seen it with Milan Lucic before where, usually big physical players like Barkley Goudreau sometimes drop off at 30, 31 years old. And especially a guy who barely, his most points in a season was 24 points. Like, this is a guy that I don't think deserves this amount of money, and especially for the term that he got as well. And I just did not like the deal. I legit almost crapped my pants when I seen this deal. Way too much for Barkley Goudreau, just way too much. Moving on though, they also got Patrick Nemeth, which I don't mind this deal. Depth defenseman, 3 years at $2.5 million. Kind of, 29, yeah, not bad. Not a bad move. He's good defensively. He's great if you're playing him up in the top six. He gives some really good numbers there. And then Philip Cheidel, I think I'm saying that, or Heidel, whatever his name is. 2 years, 2.3, nice little deal there. He was actually quite good for the New York Rangers this past season. 22 points in 42 games, not terribly bad. Not too bad in the World Championships as well there for the Czechs. But he's a good second, third liner, mostly been a third liner. They're hoping that he could take another jump up this upcoming season. But, you have Ryan Strome already there and Mika Spinija playing in the first and second lines anyways. So he'll be a perfect third line guy moving into this upcoming season. And then also the big deal there on Igor Shesterkin, signing him for 4 years at $5.666 million, which I gotta say, very smart deal by the New York Rangers locking this guy up. Very smart deal. Getting him, locked up for the next 4 years, which that takes him until he's 29. Really smart move here by the New York Rangers. He had a really strong season at 916, 262. Also, we're going to be checking out his analytics as well. But before I do, make sure to go check out my man Jfresh. His link will be down in the description below for his Patreon, as we will be taking a look at Igor Shesterkin's player card, which his analytics look pretty damn good. I can't remember. I always get mixed up by this on like the percentage, but if it's a high percentage, it's good. If it's a lower one, so not too many bad starts for Igor Shesterkin, but he doesn't have a lot of great starts or a lot of quality starts. He's just an alright goalie right now, and I think he will get a lot better with maybe a better defensive core as that develops and gets better. But his even strength is really good. He's kind of struggles on the PK, but this is a really start of a strong goalie here in Shesterkin. And he had a really strong season this year as he was, the goalie that they mostly relied on throughout the season. So he played 35 games. He was the starting goalie for the New York Rangers, and he's going to be the starting goalie for years to come. But otherwise, I really like, what the New York Rangers have done. They have a future defenseman there, Adam Fox, who, did he win the... No. Did he win the Norris? Yes, I am correct. He did win the James Norris Trophy. I forgot if he did or it was a Kel McCarr or whatever it was. But yeah, Adam Fox did win the Norris Trophy. And the defense core is looking really strong now. Niels Lundqvist, if he does jump in the lineup this year. They got Nemeth, Jacob Trouba, if he starts bouncing back a little bit. Keandre Miller looked really strong for the Rangers throughout the season. And then Fox and Lindgren, very strong defensive core, right? And it's starting to look and shape really well. And then you look at the forecourt, the top six doesn't look that bad, especially if Karvatsov plays really good. And then maybe you have Laffy jump up into that top six if he has a really good season. Jack Hughes had a good season in his second year, so we're probably expecting, Laffy to jump in. But, the biggest thing that I see the improvement on is their physicality. They improved massively on their physicality. And if the Rangers are going to think that this is going to be enough to, push themselves in the playoffs, I don't believe so. You lost something in Buchnevich, who was a very strong goal scorer. And now you're going to be relying on Karvatsov and Laffy to, help you get, an extra 20 goals from somebody. Is it going to be Laffy this year? Is it going to be Karvatsov? I felt like it was just a better idea to get, Buchnevich back on the team. Now, maybe there was some turmoil with the contract because he did, he was an RFA at the time. Maybe there was something wrong with that. Maybe the negotiations were going stale, something in that sorts. Who knows? But I just think if you were to trade away Buchnevich, you would trade him away and maybe actually get some good value back and not just blah and a second round pick. It's not worth it when you just trade away a guy that can pick you up 20 to 30 goals a season. And the only other guys that have done that was Chris Kreider and Mika Spinija last year. I didn't think that was a very smart move. Physicality is not going to win you games, especially, maybe in the playoffs it might. But if you look at Tampa Bay Lightning, they got a lot of goal scorers and then they added in that physicality a little bit later on, and now look at them. You know, you got to play the game smart, and trying to think that this is going to be a good team just because you had a physicality is no. The team looks good. It's starting to shape up really good, but I think this offseason wasn't the greatest offseason for the New York Rangers with the moves that they did. You know, they added a lot of physicality, but they lost some good goal scoring in Buchnevich. So, honestly, you know, they only lost Buchnevich. You know, the deals, Barclay Goodrow was kind of a bad contract, but, you know, trading for Ryan Reaves is not a bad idea. They didn't really pay a whole lot for him. Shesterkin was a really nice contract. Nemeth was a good defenseman. I'm going to give this team, you know, a C+. At best for the New York Rangers offseason, I think is what I'm going to give them. They had a decent offseason. You know, the Buchnevich move was pretty bad. That's why it's not going to down a lot of notches. And just the fact, you know, the Goodrow deal was really bad. Like, you don't want to be signed. Like, he has a longer contract than Panarin right now. Like, that's just not good, man. Not a good deal there by the New York Rangers. But I'm going to end the video here, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to, you know, like and subscribe. That'll be very much appreciated. And tell me, guys, in the comment section below what you guys think of the New York Rangers offseason. But for now, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.